Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Indy's Trusted Servant Show on InspireSmall.biz with yours truly, Danny O'Malia, Indy's Trusted Servant. What's Indy's Trusted Servant? Well, I do customer service training and keynote speaking about customer service. It's all about the culture of the organization. The culture of the organization, for instance, a Chick-fil-A, for instance, gives better service than most fast food places. Why? They have a great culture. I learned all about all of that from the hand of the master, my late father, Joe O'Malia, back in the O'Malia Food Market days. And even before that, at the age of 9 or 10, my dad had a little grocery store in Broad Ripple where the Vanguard Bar is now. And he lost that grocery store. And he never gave up. And 10 years later, he came back with O'Malia Food Markets and hit a home run. And one of the lessons was, never, ever, ever give up. If you're interested in knowing more about my customer service training, give me a call at 317-413-9062. What's the Indy's Trusted Servant Show? I like to describe it as lively, local, small biz, and community talk, where you can feel the pulse of Indy. And today my guest is my networking friend, Jamie Hopper. He's a financial advisor, but he's here more to talk about the Crohn's and Colitis Association and those awful diseases. But before we get into that, Jamie, let's have our viewers meet you. Tell them a little bit about your background and what you do now, and then we'll get into Crohn's and Colitis.
That sounds great, man. Thanks so much for having me today. I am Jamie Hopper, registered financial consultant with Money Concepts. I'm here in Indianapolis with my wife. We live in Fishers. We've got two amazing kids, Dylan and Kate, and we've just made this our home. I've been here 24 years now, and it's just part of our lives, and we love being part of this community. I would say one of the things that drives us is our pastor at church taught us that things don't happen to us by accident. We go through things so we can help other people through them later. And that's become a big part of my life. That's how I got into financial planning. That's how we got involved with the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. That's how we do many of the different things we do. I would say one of the things that makes me different as an advisor, we all do the same things. We all help people with their retirements. We all help people with life insurance, long-term care insurance, all those things. But the one thing that makes me different is I just want to help people. I want to help people that want to make their lives better. I'm not ever going to be somebody that has a minimum. You don't have to have a certain amount of money to work with me. If you want to make your life better, if you want to have a better life for you and your kids, you want to leave a legacy, then I'm somebody that you should talk to.
Tell them how to find you.
The easiest way to find me is through my phone number. It's 317-439-4320, or my email, jhopper@moneyconcepts.com. I do have a website. You can go to moneyconcepts.com/jhopper, and you can find my financial planning website also. Those are the easiest ways to get a hold of me.
And it's Hopper.
Yes, sir.
So tell us about your background, where you went to school, what you studied, and what brought you to financial planning.
Yeah, absolutely. I was excited when I was 18 years old to get to spend some years in Bloomington. I went to IU. I went through the Kelley School of Business and studied accounting and management. It didn't take me long in the real world to realize that management wasn't a place I wanted to be. I did a lot of customer service in my life. Did spend a few years as a stay-at-home dad working part-time just to help our family, and those years really helped get me to where I am today.
Really? Okay.
And it was amazing. You know, I never thought I would be somebody that would stay home with kids, but it made us closer. It really helped our relationship. It made things a little harder for my wife and I because we didn't see each other often enough, because she would come home from work and I would go to work a lot of days. She's actually a teacher.
Okay.
She is amazing. She is a celebrity in Fishers, and we absolutely love her. She is one of the best of the best.
She's still teaching?
Absolutely.
At where?
So she's at Thorpe Creek Elementary School. She's actually the library media specialist, which means that she teaches from the library. It's different. It's not the old way where we remember you go to the library, you check out books.
Right.
You're told to be quiet. The library is a learning center. She was actually the district coordinator for many years, where she was doing programs for the entire district, and she is just absolutely phenomenal. And she's a leader in our community. She's a leader in our house. And everybody tells me I married up, and I absolutely did.
Marrying up is a good thing to do.
Absolutely.
So that kind of gradually gets us into, well, how did you get involved with Crohn's and Colitis?
No,
let's go with that.
So I actually got diagnosed with Crohn's disease in 2014.
At the age of?
I was just getting ready to turn 40. So my 40th birthday present was to get a colonoscopy, which is not what most people look forward to.
Not a fun thing.
No, absolutely not. And actually, my situation was a little different. 70% of people that have Crohn's ultimately have a surgery after they get diagnosed. I actually had a minor surgery before I got diagnosed, and that led to some different issues, some different problems. I started going to the doctor. That's when I had my colonoscopy. He said, "You have Crohn's disease." I had no idea what that meant. To be honest with you, when I had my colonoscopy, I prayed and prayed and prayed that I didn't have cancer.
Right, exactly. That's what you think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And as it turns out, there are a lot of bad things that start with C that could come along with that. Crohn's, colitis are two of those big ones. Get diagnosed with Crohn's. I had no idea what it was. As it turns out, I've always said our life is not that bad. But what I've realized is even though my symptoms aren't horrible, having a chronic illness is hard.
And I must share with our viewers, and I think I've told you, that my dad had Crohn's.
Yes, sir.
And the last few years of his life were not pleasant because of the Crohn's. He got it later in life than you did. And I know from personal experience with my dad, it's a tough one. How often do you have problems, or do you? And are you on medication or what?
I'm on medication. One of the issues we have with Crohn's is that insurance companies don't care about us very much.
They don't?
No, not at all. I take a shot that costs $29,000 every 4 weeks. Luckily, I'm able to get on a program to pay for that because my insurance does not want to cover it.
What kind of program? That might be good information.
You know what? It's just all of the drug companies have different programs that you can sign up for. So it's something that once the insurance company decided they didn't want to cover it, I was able to reach out through the pharmacy that I went to, and she was able to coordinate a program. They have different things for all different types of situations based on where you are, ethnicity, finances, all different kinds of things.
This is kind of a naive question, but you buy health insurance, right? Does the health insurance policy say we don't include Crohn's? How's that work?
It doesn't say that they don't include Crohn's, but this is the second time I've been on a medication that my doctor thought would help me, and they've decided they didn't want to pay for it.
It's the medication issue. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's tough. That's very tough.
It is tough. The last time I went through this, I was actually a little frustrated with my health. I was a little bit frustrated with my doctor. So when they decided they wouldn't pay for it, I actually went off of medicine for 6 months, which was a horrible decision to make.
I bet it was.
And then
the medication's working.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, it is. It's not perfect. We've actually come across some other things, some more natural type things that are helping way more than medicine has. Currently, I can say that I feel better than I felt in the last 8 years because of some of the alternative things we're doing.
You want to share what that is?
You know, I actually do. I had a lady, Ryan and I've talked about this. There's a product called Beamer, and Beamer is an electromagnetic therapy. And what it does is it increases blood flow in your body by up to 29%. And that blood flow will stay increased for up to 18 hours. So if you use it consistently and you have increased blood flow, what it does is decrease inflammation and swelling in your body.
I see.
What Crohn's disease is part of the group of inflammatory bowel disease.
Yes.
So if you have inflammation and you have increased blood flow, it can decrease that inflammation and swelling and allow you to have a better life.
Now, there's no problem with blood if you get cut. Like I'm on a blood thinner for cholesterol.
No problem
with that at all.
What this does, it actually works on the micro capillary level. So on the very, very tiny blood vessels and veins. So it has no contraindication with anything like that.
So how would somebody go about finding out about this Beamer product?
Well, as it turns out, in order to pay for mine, Beamer is a little bit expensive. And I actually signed on as the distributor for that also because I'm a connector of people. That's how I met you. That's
how all three of us met.
Exactly. So I've taken on a philosophy. I had a friend, Ron Zukinik, who recently passed away.
We were just talking about him before. Yeah.
I learned from Ron several years ago, there's a phrase, I know somebody that can get that done. And I've adopted that into my life. So when I see something that can help somebody, I am always connecting somebody to somebody else. So when this beautiful lady, Patty Robinson, introduced it to me, she had colitis. And she got introduced to Beamer, and in 4 months, she went into remission. She's like, I don't know if it'll work that fast for you, but I was a nurse for 45 years. I believe if you use this, it will decrease your inflammation and swelling, and you will see an improvement. In 6 days, I knew I was going to buy one.
Spell Beamer.
It's capital B, capital E, capital M, capital E, capital R.
No A.
Beamer.
Beamer.
No.
Okay. And how would somebody who's sitting out there that knows somebody that has Crohn's or colitis access Beamer?
I would reach out to me. I do have a website that we can access for that, but reach out to me first, because what we like to do is have a conversation, let people know what they're going to look at, what they're going to see when they look at it.
Give us that website.
Absolutely. It's actually hopper.beamergroup.com.
BEMER. Hopper.beamergroup.com. BEMER.
Absolutely.
What is the difference between Crohn's and colitis?
So Crohn's actually attacks different parts of your digestive system, and that can happen anywhere from your neck all the way down to...
Well, I didn't know that.
Part of my Crohn's, I actually get ulcers in my mouth sometimes.
Oh,
and
okay.
generally it's when I've been eating the wrong things, if I have too much chocolate, something that's going to irritate it, that will kind of flare that up a little bit.
If I eat too much chocolate, I might get a fever blister or something like
exactly.
that, right?
So for me, I actually get these ulcers in my mouth, and it can all the way down into my throat. So I have to get a prescription from either my dentist or my doctor for something called Mary's Magic. It's like a mouthwash that you can actually drink, and it
takes care of that stuff.
It does take care of it, but it is extraordinarily annoying. It's extraordinarily painful when it happens. I mean, there's very little that I want to eat when I have that going on.
Well, I can only imagine. I for some reason, your body changes, and sometimes I have less hay fever than I used to, but I have a little bit. I used to get canker sores, okay, but usually just one at a time. I can't imagine a whole mouthful of that stuff.
No,
it would really eat up your appetite big time.
It certainly does. So with Crohn's, you can get inflammation. You generally don't get it everywhere, but you have sections that could happen anywhere in your digestive system.
But what about colitis?
So
how's that different from Crohn's?
Colitis is generally inflammation all the way throughout your bowels.
Okay.
So it's not the same type of inflammation, but it's usually consistent all the way through.
And are the symptoms pretty much the same?
They're very similar.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation that you're part of, and how they raise money, and I suspect they do research, right?
Absolutely.
For cures and so on and so forth. So, and it's a national organization, right? But there's an Indiana component, right?
Absolutely.
So tell us about how they get funded and how folks can help, and do they have like the Alzheimer's Memory Walk or events? And let's go into all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the National Foundation was founded about 60 years ago. Crohn's disease, the first indications of Crohn's disease happened in 1923. Dr. Crohn had his first patient in 1930.
Okay, so it was named after the doctor.
Yeah, and in 1932, it was named Crohn's disease because he had done some research and discovered what it was. About 30 years later, they started the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. And they've done tremendous work. So what they do, we work hard for research. We are desperately trying to find a cure. And they say now we're as close to finding a cure as we've ever been. One of the reasons why is because our foundation works very hard to get research, but they've now coordinated where researchers all over the world are working together. We actually have a warehouse here near the airport where they have samples. We won't discuss the samples, but researchers all over the world are working on the same samples, putting their research and their work together to help find a cure. They say
this facility you're talking about near the airport, does it manufacture the drug, or how?
No. All they're doing. So patients all over the world their samples are being sent to this warehouse.
Okay.
So any sort of stool sample, blood sample, anything like that, it gets sent to that warehouse, and they're able to access it through technology all over the world.
They don't even have to be here.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Exactly.
So what about the local foundation and their fundraising arm and so on and so forth?
Well, I wanted to say about the National Foundation first. So they do work a lot on research. But the other thing we do is we give a lot of resources not only to our patients, but our foundation helps educate doctors and caregivers. So nurses, doctors, they all get educated through the work our foundation is doing. And those are big things that we do.
Is the foundation only on the national level?
No, so you're absolutely correct. So the way we're able to reach out to the world is through the local chapters. So here in Indiana, we have an Indiana chapter. It covers our whole state. We are based here out of Indianapolis. We've got a pretty good group in Fort Wayne that we deal with. We've got a small group in South Bend, a small group in Evansville. But Indianapolis is our main area. Our plan, much like Ryan, is to get into all 92 counties. So we are going to work. We just had a change in leadership this year, and one of the initiatives I'm trying to help with is to help find a way where we can get into all 92 counties. One of the ways I would like to do that is by doing more work with schools, high schools, middle schools, even some universities.
Education.
Well, education, but there are a lot of young people that have IBD that aren't getting the support that they need.
What's IBD?
IBD is inflammatory bowel disease. So Crohn's and colitis fall under the umbrella of IBD.
Okay.
So there are a lot of students in our schools that have IBD, and it's very difficult for them because people don't deal well with bathroom issues. It's embarrassing.
As a
People don't
former
wanna talk
teacher,
about-
is the kid BSing me or just to get out of class or what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So luckily, when somebody does have IBD, I mean, they do get special treatment in schools, but the students don't understand that. And the students are relentless and mean, and it's hard.
Okay.
So one of the things that we would like to do is find a way where we can support those students in schools, because chances are in many schools there are more than one that are suffering with IBD.
Well, I would guess.
They probably don't know each other. They probably don't understand what each other are going through. So we're trying to find ways that we can connect them. But we would also like to do some fundraising through those schools, much like they do for Riley's for the kids. Do something like that.
Dance-a-thons and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Right?
So we want to try to get some impact that way. But it's all about the kids. There are so many adults here in the United States that have Crohn's. I mean, right now there are 3.1 million Americans that have IBD. There are about 70,000 of us here in Indiana.
I think Crohn's colitis is genetic also, correct?
It can be.
Can be.
It can be.
Yeah.
That's part of
I worry about that because of my dad.
Oh, absolutely. Right? That's part of the reason it's been so hard to find a cure. They ultimately still haven't figured out what causes it. And the symptoms are flared by many different things. You know, people talk about food, they talk about stress, they talk about a lot of different things that could cause your symptoms to be worse, but there's no indication that says this is what caused your disease. Once you have the disease, then these things make it worse. So it's been difficult that way.
Yeah.
What we're finding now is it used to be between 25 and 35 was the time where most people got diagnosed. Now, a lot of people did get diagnosed older. I was a little bit older. My wife will tell you I probably had the disease during that time and we just didn't know it.
Yeah.
Your dad was significantly older when he got diagnosed.
He was, yeah. Thankfully, I guess.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he couldn't go anywhere. He just didn't.
Yeah.
He couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it can be rough. Actually, we'll talk about my fundraiser here in a few minutes, but I was at our fundraiser a few weeks ago. I met a doctor who works with young children, and he said he's had children as young as 2 months old get diagnosed with Crohn's.
Wow. Who knew? Who knew that?
2 months. I had no idea.
That's a new one on me.
I absolutely had no idea. So for the last 8 years, when we've talked about Crohn's, I always think about the kids. I think about my kids. What if they get diagnosed? So that's been my reason why I'm committed to this foundation and this finding a cure, is because I want to make sure no other kids go through this.
So our viewers, I used to be radio, now it's YouTube, and I'm getting better at saying viewers, and Brian will attest to that. Our viewers might want to know how to help.
Absolutely.
So what fundraisers, what volunteers do you need, et cetera, et cetera?
Absolutely. So for me, I got diagnosed in 2014. In 2019, being a financial advisor, I started to think about my family. Now, most people don't die from Crohn's.
Right.
Occasionally they may die from a complication, but it's not very often.
Right.
It will, like you said, it can decrease your quality of life.
Immensely.
It's significantly. Some people can go on disability because of Crohn's. It doesn't happen often, but it can happen. But it occurred to me that there may be other people out there. You know, my wife and I have a strong faith, and I'm blessed that I have an amazing wife. A lot of people don't have that kind of support. So I wanted to approach the foundation And I didn't even, be honest with you, I didn't even know we had a local foundation.
Until you got the disease.
Because
who knew?
But that's the other thing.
Yeah.
The doctors aren't promoting it. They should, but they're not. I should have found, in 2014, they should have said, hey, here's information for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
Yes,
they'll help
yes,
you. Because
but that didn't happen.
Because what most of us do is we start researching online and we find all these horror stories and end up in these chat rooms of people telling the worst case scenario. And it's just horrible. If I would have got introduced to the foundation, it would have been a different story. So 2019, I do some research. I find out we've got a local foundation. I called the executive director. She was amazing. She meets me for coffee at Starbucks, and we're talking. And I had a whole list of questions I wanted to ask her about the foundation and where the money goes and what percentage goes.
Right. That's a good one.
All of these different things. And ultimately, what I wanted to do was say, hey, I'm a financial advisor. I'm a resource. I love to do presentations. You may have people in your organization that are scared about their future, that may want to make sure they've got things set up for the next generation. I would be happy to be a resource for that. That was all I wanted from that meeting. She started talking to me. Within 5 minutes, I realized I was there for myself. Because as much support as I had at home and through our church, I didn't have that kind of support. I didn't have that kind of connection.
You didn't have a community of Crohn's people.
Exactly.
Right?
I didn't have that. So I asked her, I said, what can I do to get involved? And she's like, this was like in April. She's like, in June, we have an event called Take Steps. She's like, it's one of our biggest fundraisers. You need to be involved in Take Steps. Okay, how can I do that? She's like, go to the website, sign up your team, and get started.
Is this a walkathon?
Well, Take Steps is a walk, but what it is really, it's a big celebration. It's the one time a year where our entire statewide community can come together and have an event where we just get to mingle, talk, have some food, get to know each other. We always have great music, activities, all kinds of things.
I'm sorry we missed it.
I know. I mean, honestly, this was amazing. So this was our fourth Take Steps. We had one that was virtual because of COVID.
Yeah.
But this is the fourth one. So in the past, we had always done it at Victory Field. It was a great event, but we paid way too much money to go to Victory Field.
I bet you did.
This year, we went to Conner Prairie, and it was beautiful. We had a great day. We had a lot of people there, and it was just a nice event. I think, have you met Lindsay Zarin with Resounding Joy?
No.
Lindsay does music therapy. She came and put on a drum circle for our group, and it was absolutely amazing just to have a bunch of us beating on a drum together, just hanging out. We had Tropical Smoothie Cafe, came and brought 400 smoothies for our event. I had a lot of my friends there as sponsors and vendors promoting things that can help our community and things that are just better for the world in general. Well,
you'll be glad to know that Tropical Smoothie Cafe has been on this show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, really nice places.
Yeah. Well, as it turned out, I met Jamie at the One Zone event in Carmel, a Taste of Carmel. He brought smoothies there.
Yeah, right.
And I met him that night, and I said, hey, do you do this for fundraisers? Yeah, sometimes. Well, I work with the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. As soon as I said Crohn's, he's like, I'll be there.
That's great. That's great to know.
And he had a connection with Crohn's.
So any other fundraisers?
So we have a couple other things throughout the year. Take Steps is actually a year-long event. So even though our celebration is in June, we fundraise for that all year long. They do a big gala in the fall, which
Tell us about that.
The gala is that's our black tie affair. So that's not necessarily for our community that is fundraising all year long.
That's for the community.
Yeah, so that's where we get people that aren't connected to Crohn's and Colitis in any way, or at least they don't have a personal connection to it that we're aware of, where we get outside sponsors to come in and raise quite a bit of money.
So this event takes place when, where, and how do you get
that? We don't have a date on yet.
Okay.
So we will work on that. Like I said, we've got new leadership this year. The beautiful thing about new leadership, our foundation has done well. We've been a $500,000 chapter the last many years. But I have anticipation with new leadership that we're going to be able to take that to a whole new level. And that's nothing against who we had before. They took us from a really low level up to 500,000, and now it's time for us to get up to $1 million. And that's kind of where we're at now. So things are going to change a little bit. The way Take Steps look this year changed. The way the gala is going to look, that's going to change.
So somebody wants to get involved with Take Steps or go to the gala, give us a website, whatever contact information you can share.
So the easiest thing you can do is just reach out to me, and I'll make sure you get connected. Now, I do have a website, and I think it'll be connected with this video. It's http://online.crohnscolitisfoundation.org/go-to/steps/. /my team name. Don't stop believing.
Okay.
So that's why if you get connected with me, I'll send you a link. It'll be really easy.
How do they get connected with you then?
Same way. You can reach out to my email, jhopper@moneyconcepts.com.
There you go. That's easier.
Or my phone number, 317-439-4320.
Even easier.
Yep, those are easiest ways. This year, my family were actually the honored heroes for Take Steps. So
Awesome.
it was
Awesome.
a pretty
How old
fantastic
are your kids?
day. 10 and 13.
They have no symptoms?
No.
Okay, good.
No, it's
good.
So far, so good. But it was really cool for us to, we share our story all the time anyway. I mentioned how when we go through things, we should help other people through later. So I've never been shy about my disease.
I know, which is good,
exactly,
which is healthy.
Because I want, almost every time I'm out in public and I mention Crohn's disease, somebody says, I know somebody that has that, my family member went through this, my neighbor has this, whatever. And the first question I ask, are they connected to the foundation? Because 70,000 people in Indiana have Crohn's or colitis, and our foundation has a relationship with about 500 of them. And it's not because we're not trying. Part of it's because the doctors aren't connecting them. Part of it's because they don't know we're here.
The doctors should be doing better.
But the doctors are doing great. I don't want to say anything bad about the doctors. I really don't. They're caught up in a system that is just it's a no-win situation. My doctors, even the one that I transitioned from, he was very good to me when I gave him the opportunity. Our doctors around here do the best they can, and they do well.
But if they could help people with the, spreading the word more, it would be good.
Yep, right? Absolutely. So I share my story a lot because there are just a lot of people that don't know that we're here and don't know the kind of support they can receive. And that's been fantastic. So it was nice this year to be the honored hero. What I did when I got on stage was I said, I don't want to share my story. You've all heard my story. You've seen our videos. You've seen the things we put out on social media. I really want to share the vision for where we would like this to go. And I just talked about how we have new leadership. We have new opportunities. I gave people the opportunity, if you have an idea for how we can get more bandwidth, how we can raise more money, this is the time to share those ideas with us.
Call Jamie.
Exactly.
Right? Well, give us that phone number one more time.
317-439-4320.
Okay, Jamie Hopper with Money Concepts,
yes, sir.
Financial advisor, and the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. Thanks for being our guest.
Absolutely.
Next week, we've got a little retail guest, Mr. Pat Sullivan of Sullivan's Hardware, down on 49th and Penn, I believe, and then 71st and Keystone, which is a site where my dad ran a grocery store in the early 60s.
Awesome.
So don't forget to watch that one. And remember, if you miss a show at 3 o'clock on Monday, you can go to inspiresmall.biz/Indy's Trusted Servant, INDYS, Trusted Servant, and you can find all 36 Indy's Trusted Servant shows that have been on inspiresmall.biz. See you all next week.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Indy's Trusted Servant Show. If you liked this episode, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more updates. The Indy's Trusted Servant Show is produced by InspireSmall.biz in Indianapolis, Indiana. For more episodes of the Indy's Trusted Servant Show, visit www.inspiresmall.biz/Indy's Trusted Servant. Thanks for watching.